From Tufts University Studios in Boston, it's the Global Desk with Peter Loud.
Hello and welcome to the Global Desk. I'm Peter Loud. It's been a busy week in the news. The government shutdown is over, with Democrats conceding, House Democrats aired Trump's dirty laundry, and the penny has been penalized. Let's get into the briefing. Democrats ultimately capitulated in the latest government shutdown standoff, agreeing to a short-term funding deal that reopened the government without securing their main demand, an extension of Affordable Care Act tax credits. After more than a month of deadlock, several Democratic senators broke ranks and joined Republicans to pass the bill, which funds operations through January 30th, 2026. The deal included minimal policy concessions beyond guarantees of back pay for federal workers and a vague promise from Republicans to hold a later vote on healthcare issues. Progressives criticized party leadership, arguing that Democrats surrendered leverage and gained nothing substantial. Strategically, the move reflects the familiar dilemma of shutdown politics. Democrats face increasing pressure to end the disruption but lack the votes to force Republican concessions. The outcome is seen as a tactical retreat, ending the immediate crisis but signaling weakness ahead of future budget battles. First of all, I'm not surprised, and neither is, I think, the rest of Tufts. The Democratic Party has been a mess since 2016 and has struggled to get its act together. They don't control Congress. Obviously, they don't control the White House. They can barely keep their own members in line at this point. The party is led by career politicians who got their start back when the Civil Rights Act was passed, and they haven't figured out how to modernize. The rest of the party is either Democrats who are too far left and have alienated half their support, or the small number that could realistically flip the government blue in the next election. Regarding the government shutdown, I will admit I initially wanted Democrats to fold early on. It didn't seem like they were doing much to hold out, and I wish they would just cut their losses and fund the country. And then they kept going, and I started to hope. I thought this might be the turning point for Democrats. They might stand up to Republicans. But when they were too deep, they gave up. I wouldn't be upset if they had folded within the first week. But since they held out for an entire month, they should have at least seen it through. You can damage the country and walk away without getting anything in return. Even if they say they got the Republicans to agree to something, it's an empty promise. And that was said by one of the Democrats who voted to end the shutdown. It doesn't mean anything. A promise to hold a vote on Medicare? First of all, let's walk through the timeline real quick. Do you really think the Senate will vote to send it to the House, first of all? That's the easiest part out of all this. After that, do you think the House will even hold a vote? Do you think Speaker Johnson will even hold a vote for this? And lastly, if all of that happens, if by some miracle the bill gets all the way to President Donald J. Trump's desk, do you really believe that he will sign it? If you do, please seek help. Now, Democrats can be hopeful. Even conservatives who aren't MAGA can be hopeful. But with the midterm elections coming up, Democrats have to prove themselves to earn the votes they need to flip the government. In the ongoing saga of the Epstein files, House Democrats scored a major win when they released emails allegedly exchanged between Epstein and his accomplices, which suggests Trump knew what Epstein was doing and in fact was involved. In a 2011 message to Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein wrote that, quote, "The dog that hasn't barked is Trump," saying that a victim, whose name was redacted by House Democrats, had spent hours with Trump, but Trump had never once been mentioned. In a 2019 exchange with Wolf, Epstein claimed Trump knew about the girls and had asked Ghislaine Maxwell to stop, while a 2015 message showed Wolf warning Epstein that CNN planned to ask Trump about his relationship with him. House Democrats say these emails raise new questions about what Trump knew and when, while Republicans and Trump's team go off the similar pattern of arguing that the release is politically motivated and proves nothing. Now, the emails contain no evidence of criminal behavior or charges against Trump, and their context and reliability remain unclear. It's important to note that these emails, though suspicious, are not incriminating. Much speculation will, of course, follow its release, but Trump cannot be indicted based on pure conjecture. Caroline Leavitt, Trump's spokesperson, defended the Trump administration, of course, saying the emails, quote, "prove absolutely nothing." Leavitt repeatedly emphasized that the emails, quote, "prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong." Now, I wouldn't go that far, but I guess she's got to do what she's got to do. On the victim testimony, Levitt specifically named the victim in one email as the late Virginia Guffrey and cited past reports saying Guffrey maintained Trump was not involved in any wrongdoing whatsoever and always acted professionally towards her. Levitt criticized Democrats for redacting the name of the victim who had already spoken publicly. Trump's administration still holds the rest of the files, and we don't know yet what his involvement entailed. But this new evidence certainly doesn't do his case any favors. In other news, the penny, maybe one of the longest serving pieces of metal in the country, is no longer being minted. In May 2025, the U.S. Department of the Treasury announced it would stop making pennies, a coin that has been used since 1793. The decision followed years of financial losses, since each penny cost about 3.69 cents to make, much more than its value. And this cost the government tens of millions of dollars each year. The last batch of pennies for circulation was made at the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia on November 12, 2025, ending regular production. Pennies already in use will stay legal and can still be spent, but no new ones will be made unless Congress decides otherwise. Economists expect cash transactions to round to the nearest nickel, as done in Canada and Australia. This is the first time a U.S. coin has been discontinued since the half cent was removed in 1857. Tonight, we want to share a story that shows exactly what's happening at Tufts right now. Now, this story is rather inflammatory, and it follows a very contentious issue. To give you context, a few days ago, a campus club, Friends of Israel, hosted a Palestinian speaker who spoke out against Hamas. He tried to rally support against Hamas and spoke to Tufts students to raise awareness. During his talk, some Palestinian protesters stood up, shouted, and tried to disrupt the event. They wore masks and left quickly after their efforts didn't work. Now, before we go further, I think it's important to say what Israel is doing in Gaza is unacceptable. It is a genocide, a crime against humanity, and Netanyahu should be held accountable. At the same time, Hamas is a terrorist group that has killed thousands of innocent civilians. No matter how long Israel has been present in the region, there is no excuse for what Hamas has done and never an excuse to kill innocent civilians. With all this in mind, these protesters show exactly what's wrong with political activism at Tufts in the current political climate. According to people who saw the protest, the reason was that the speaker didn't criticize Hamas enough. Now, protesting someone because they're not perfectly aligned with your views is nonsense. You can't demand total loyalty and then punish someone who isn't marching to your exact beat. Pick your causes and stand by them, but don't turn on people just because they're not as extreme as you. Tufts students have a history of pushing for real constructive change, and that deserves a lot of credit. But right now, the problem isn't the protest itself. It's the fading sense of loyalty and basic compassion that's chipping away at the integrity of the right to protest in the first place. That's the news for this week. I'm Peter Loud, and this has been The Global Desk. Thank you for being with us.